Thank you for tuning in to Terry Swoop Videos. On today's video, I'm going to do a Where Are They Now on the 1970s disco singer Amii Stewart. Now, Amii Stewart is most known for the 1979 hit song, Knock on Wood. Now, in 1979, this was the #1 song in America. This was the #1 song in the UK. It was the #1 song in the world. The song was sold over 5 million records, and it was hugely successful. Now, Amii Stewart actually started out as a dancer and model during the late 1970s. And she was doing a modeling gig, and a record producer asked her to start recording some records because he heard her singing while she was doing her modeling, and he really liked her voice. And this is how she got her record deal. She signed to RCA Records, and she ended up recording the song Knock on Wood. Now, this was Amii Stewart's biggest hit, and this was always a guilty pleasure of mine. Every time this song comes on, I start dancing because I love this song. Now, one of the things that really hurt her career was the death of disco in 1980. Sometime during 1980, there was this huge boycott of disco music, where it took place in Chicago, where they started burning all the disco records because a lot of these white rockers got so sick and tired of disco music. Because from 1971 to 1979, disco was the #1 music in America. It was the #1 music on all the charts. And a lot of these white rockers got sick and tired of disco music. So they did this boycott where they demanded that all the radio stations stop playing disco music. And then they went to this stadium in Chicago and they started burning all the disco records. And this is one of the things that really hurt her career, because she was a dance singer. She was a disco singer. And when all the radio stations stopped playing disco music in 1980, it really hurt her career. So when Amii releases her second single, Light My Fire, this song is not as big of a hit in America. It only peaks at number 69 on the Hot 100 charts, but it does make the top 10 in Europe. It makes the top 10 on the UK charts. And that's basically what happens with disco. Going into the 1980s, disco is no longer popular in America, but it continues to be popular in the UK. So she moves over to Italy and she starts performing in Europe. And she has success throughout the 1980s performing in Europe. She released several albums throughout the 1980s, and she had a lot of success. But her only hit song in America was Knock on Wood. So a lot of people look at her as a one-hit wonder, but she had a lot of hit songs outside of Knock on Wood. It's just her other hit songs were in Europe. She got a lot of success on the European charts instead of the American charts. Today, she's 64 years old. And as you can see, she looks lovely for a 64-year-old woman. She's been married for 30 years. And I'm just happy to see that she's still alive and well. I've always been a huge fan of her music. I've always thought this woman was one of the most beautiful women in the history of Hollywood. A lot of people have different opinions about this topic. Leave a comment, rate, and subscribe.